Welcome back. My name is Dr. Aziz. So we'll look at our Canvas site. On our Canvas site on week 1, which is in some websites you will see modules. This is by weeks. So under week 1, you'll see our textbook. And this is the textbook you can download. You can put it in your smartphone. You can put it in your tablet or your desktop. So I recommend that you actually download this textbook. You don't have to print it. We'll be going chapter by chapter on weekly basis, but the textbook is available to you. And in this class, in CS11, we'll be covering the first 10 chapters. And our goal is to cover 1 chapter a week, which we are going to start next week. So next week will be our first week, which will be, our goal is to cover that chapter. So I recommend highly that you read the chapter before you come in. Otherwise, there'll be a lot of terms. They will be alien to you. You'll not be able to understand and grasp the ideas. So I'm going to throw a lot of concepts next week. And although the first chapter is very conceptual, but we'll be working on our first project. So, and you will see next week we'll have our first project due. Here it is. So you see that February 18th, which is the Sunday of next week, our first project will be due, which is worth 20 points. And you can click on it later just to see what that project entails. Some of you probably feel comfortable. You can start that project. Some of you probably want to wait for our lecture next week. And we'll discuss that project as well. And also notice that there is a PowerPoint available for Chapter 1 as well as demo file available, which kind of shows you how to use different kind of statements as well as how to set up your project as well, which hopefully we'll be able to discuss tonight before you leave. All right, so that's our textbook. And also, I have some videos and some of the other material, especially when it comes to installing the software. How many of you already have installed the software on your personal computer? So Louis, so you have Community Edition 2017 or you have Express Edition?
Community Edition.
Okay, so how do I know, and what about you? Okay, what about you? Which?
It's like a developer for me.
Okay, so if I go here, if I say Visual Studio, and you'll see a website, Microsoft.com Visual Studio or visualstudio.com. So here it is. You will see visualstudio.com. You can also find Microsoft.com Visual Studio. So this is a very large piece of software. I actually have a friend. He runs a small software company. He has 150 employees. He tells me he cannot find enough developers in Visual Studio. He says, any students you have, outstanding students, I'll take them. And I've sent some of my students to his company as well. He really, really wants a lot of Visual Studio developers. So Visual Studio is a very large piece of software. So you want to learn how to develop and how to be comfortable in Visual Studio. And Visual Studio is out there for a few years, I would say more than 10, 15 years. And they can actually, the Visual Studio can allow you to develop programs in multiple languages, many database management systems, many reporting tools, and many of the other things can be developed. So if you go to Visual Studio, and it's going to show you a variety of things. So if I go under Download for Windows, notice that it shows me 3 different options. Because if you have a Windows computer, you can download either Community 2017 edition. If you're a business, maybe a professional edition or an enterprise edition. The Community edition should be fine. It's a free software. However, there is another software. Let me show you. It's called Visual Studio Express Edition. Let me talk about Express at the same time. So Visual Studio Express, if I click on it and scroll down, so you can find what type of software do I need. I need a software as an individual developer, as a student or teacher, and other types of developers such as academic and research. So if I say I want to download individual as an individual developer, so it's going to recommend something to you. I recommend you click on this Express 2017 for Windows Desktop if you have a desktop computer at home. If you have a Linux machine, if you have um, uh, another Mac computer or different, then you can find appropriate software as well. Now, what's the difference between Express versus Community? Express is a subset of the larger software. It's a smaller piece of software, but it runs efficiently. It does exactly the same thing which we can do in other types of software. So if you have an Express Edition 2017, you are okay for this class. And it should not give you any kind of trouble.
Does the Express Edition use less power?
Yeah, less storage, less processing, less power, and
be able to run that on a Surface Pro?
Most probably.
Okay.
Most probably, yeah. You can, when you click on it, it's going to show you the specifications. It will tell you if you can. So if you would like to install the software on your personal computer, if you have a personal computer, I recommend do it by next Monday. So when you come in, you already have some kind of software. If you do not want to install the software, you don't have a computer or your computer is outdated, you do not have to do anything. We have software installed here. We have our labs available. They have the right software as well. You can use our LSE lab and PCC lab, and I'll show you where the labs are, and I'll show you the hours as well. Okay, but it is highly recommended. If you have a personal computer, you feel comfortable installing software, so please do so. Can I help you with installation? Probably not, because we are not allowed to touch your machine. Something happens, we will be liable. So our department doesn't allow us to install. We can only recommend things, but we can't install things on your machine. What if you have something illegal? Then my fingerprints are on your computer. So, you know Larry Nasser?
Yes.
Yeah. 60 years. I don't want to say on the camera, but 60 years for something. First conviction. There were 3 convictions. Today was the 3rd conviction. So if you know what I'm talking about, first conviction was 60 years. You don't have to Google on it. So because anyway, so Express 2017 is one option. And if you feel comfortable, you have a fairly new machine, you can actually download Community 2017. So Community 2017 or Express 2017. Can I install 2018? They don't have it yet. So 2017, even if you have the older edition, you have a machine you installed it 4 or 5 years ago, it's going to work seamlessly and it's going to be fine. So software itself is not that critical for our work. Our work is mostly on the coding side. The software is only allows you to provide you the text editor, do the compilation, and how to set up your results, the output, those kind of things. Okay, so that's our Visual Studio software. We'll set it up together later on. So right now, I just wanted to highlight the software. That's the software we are going to use. And some instructions are available here, how to use Visual Studio and how to set up Visual Studio. If you want to go to YouTube, just say how to set up YouTube, how to set up a Visual Studio. You'll find a variety of choices. So many different videos are available. They will show you step by step. If you have a MacBook, then there is some information about installing. I didn't put it here, but did I send you the link for MacBook? Yeah, so that's Xcode you can install. There are other choices. Most of the students, they install Xcode. So normally the Visual Studio they have for MacBook doesn't run very seamlessly. It gives some troubles to the students, so students feel a little bit more comfortable with Xcode. And there are a lot of videos available, and I think I sent you a link or 2 about Xcode as well. Okay, so you guys okay with the software? Do you have to install the software? No. Do you want to install the software? It is recommended. Can I use the lab here? Sure. Where are the labs? So if I go to cos.lbcc.edu, I can find my labs, about us, contact us, and I think location, oh, right here, computer technology labs. So in our LSE building, which is this building, or this campus, room M109 is our lab here, which is next door, next building. We are in N building. Our next building is M building. So Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. they're open. And Friday they're open, and Saturday for a short while. So you can take advantage of our labs. You say, well, I'm not that kind of person. Then develop somebody that kind of schedule, so you can come with someone. You can come together, so you can actually support each other, help each other. But these are the lab hours. You can also see our PCC campus has a lab as well. Now, do I have the tutoring available for CS11? Yes, we have CS11 tutoring. So if I go to, the best way would be search it. So it will be easier if I simply do this. So if you simply Google on tutoring, you can find a tutoring center and tutoring schedule. It's already out there for PCC tutoring, and there should be somewhere else LSE tutoring as well. So our class is one of those classes, as you can see right there. So there's tutoring available for CS11. CS11, CS21, CS22, CS61. We have hired several of our good students from last few semesters, so they are our tutors. These are excellent individuals. So their tutoring is available, so you can check the location at LSE and the timings and the days, and some of you probably will need the tutoring. So that's another resource available, and the money college gets from the state is paying for the services we have for you. So take advantage of those services as well. When you wait too long, by fourth week, it will be so overwhelming that nothing is going to make sense. So you want to handle these issues initially. That's why it's very important that before you leave tonight, exchange information, have some kind of contact with some other individuals. And you can also do the same thing on our Canvas site. Okay, just wanted to highlight these resources out there. Now let's look at the course syllabus. Did I forget to upload the course syllabus? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it is.
Syllabus on the side. Right under files. To your left.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That because the Moodle is different, so I put it in the. Yeah. So under course syllabus, when you click on it, you can download it or you can view it. So if you click on this one, you can view it right there within the Canvas site, or you can actually download and look at it. So you can see and these hours might change, but I think I'm going to stick to these hours, but I might be adding Monday hours as well. Monday might be 5 to 6, depending upon how much need is there. So right now my goal is to have office hours Friday and Saturday, but I think I might be adding Monday hours as well. You can see my office is in M125. Literally, it's a few feet from here. Literally, when you exit this door and enter the next door, and you'll find my office, the third office on the left-hand side. You can read the class description and outcomes. What do you get after you finish this class? What are some of the objectives and goals? And this is the textbook. This is the PDF we have available. So you can download that textbook. I recommend you bring some kind of storage medium, some kind of USB thumb drive or some kind of other way you can store. If you're comfortable uploading to cloud, the whole project you can upload to the cloud. If you're not, then bring a USB or some kind of thumb drive. In fact, I might have, if you guys show up, I might have some free USBs for you guys. Only the people who smile at me, so they will get a free USB. So people who are serious, they don't get a USB. So we'll have 10 projects. And if we do well, and this varies, if we do well as a class, we might have a final project. If you don't do well, if we struggle, then we might not have time to do a project. So, but initially I put it there. If we don't have a final project, we'll have total of 500 points, otherwise 550 points. So for the first 3 chapters, we'll have exam. The next 3 chapters, 4, 5, and 6, will have an exam. And chapter 8, 9, and 10 will have an exam. We are not going to have an exam on chapter 7. We'll cover the chapter, but it will not be part of your exam number 3. If you have 90 or higher, you'll get an A. And so we are in week 1. So in week 1, we just basically talk about each other, introduction, and we talk about the software, talk about what is programming, and a lot of other things which we are going to highlight. So next week, my goal is to finish the first chapter, and hopefully we are done with the first assignment. It would be nice if you have already read the chapter, we can finish our project and upload together in classroom next Monday. And you say, well, I need more time. That's okay. The project will be due the following Sunday. So we'll meet on 12th. The project will be due on 18th. So we'll have plenty of time. And that's true for other projects as well. We are not going to meet on 19th. It's a holiday. So then I know you will miss me a lot and you will not be able to sleep, but there's nothing I can do. So when we come back on 26th, I'm hoping that you're done with chapter 2. You have read chapter 2. That's where we pick up the coding. Chapter 1 doesn't have any coding. Chapter 1 has only concepts. It talks about compiler, talks about different strategies and different structures and so on and so forth. But we really pick up the coding in chapter 2. But chapter 1 is also critical because we learn different pieces that meet in order to become a coder or developer. All right, so that's a goal, and if you scroll down, you'll see some of the methods I use, late work. What if you cannot submit your work by 18th? For example, project 1 is due by 18th. You couldn't submit it. You can still get credit, but half credit after 18th. So you have 7 more days, you get a half credit. After 7 days, after the due date, there'll be no credit. Yeah, question?
What is the general layout of your exams?
So exams are 65% multiple choice and about 35% true false. And it's not hands-on, and it will be mostly from the textbook. So basically, if you have been reading materials from the textbook, you'll be okay. So most of the students do well. The students who actually have been reading periodically and together with the class, they'll do well. Okay, and I'm telling here that it is expected that you read. There's nothing I can do. I get college students that tell me they have never read a book in their life from cover to cover. Anybody in this class have never read a book? Yeah. So when I was 18, I had read about more than 1,000 books. And I don't understand how that's possible. You have never read a book from cover to cover in college. I cannot understand it. I will never understand. I will accept it. I will never be your friend. I cannot believe it. And they will say, well, look, I have a bachelor's degree, and I have this and this, and I have a job, and I have never read a chapter. Good for you. But sooner or later, the time and the companies will catch up. You know, every 10 years we have R word. Something happens R. What is R? Recession. When was the last recession? Ended around 2008. So what was how much market fell on Friday? 666. How much market fell today? Biggest in the history of our country, 1175. I'm not saying, I'm not an economist. By the way, economists are always wrong. They can never predict. It happens. So it's something the capitalist system is based on. Capitalist system is based on interest, borrowing, and debt. And suddenly, some entities cannot pay off the debt, and they have to make adjustments. When they have to make adjustments, they will lay off millions of people. This happened in 2008. It happens in 2001. That was internet bubble. It happened in 92. It happened in 81. It happened in 1973. And you go on and on and on and on. So now we are close. But you guys are lucky because when you graduate at the time of recession, that's the worst time to graduate. Those are the people. Imagine if you are graduating at the time of recession, you will be unemployed. When I graduated, it was the boom time. Y2K was happening. And they were hiring like crazy. They said, even if you can spell C++, we'll hire you. 70,000 was the starting salary. People were giving 100,000 sign-up bonuses with some experiences. Some of my friends, they got 100,000 just to sign up with the company. And I graduated at that time, and I was just right person at the right time. So I want you to have that understanding how this system works. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't have to graduate. Don't be like my friends who has 300 credits, never graduated, and he's still struggling. What I'm saying is that you just need to have some idea. So please go ahead and read the chapter. Read the chapter. It's not going to hurt you. Typically, it will take you 2 hours. If you cannot have 2 hours for me, it means you're not faithful to me and we are not friends. We cannot have this relationship. So I'm asking only for 2 hours. If you exclude the images and graphics and tables and charts, on average, a chapter has 50 pages. If you exclude that, we have like 35 pages, 36 pages. So if you exclude some of the examples, like a bunch of exercises, we don't have that much material. So it's not that much. So we have no choice. We have to go through the materials, so it's more productive in the classroom. So things will make more sense. Okay, so attendance is required. If you cannot attend my class, my Saturday class will be always 1 week behind or behind you. So come and sit in my Saturday class. Saturday class will meet here at 8 a.m. So come and sit in that class. There might not be a spot, but I'll get a chair for you, and you can just listen and maybe learn something from that. So I recommend highly that we are looking at the Canvas site, how to log onto the Canvas site. Most of you have successfully. It says texting is not allowed. I actually copied and pasted this like 10 years ago. Trust me, even people were texting 10 years ago. And when was the first time you bought a smartphone? Anybody? Cynthia, when was the first time you bought a smartphone? 8 years ago?
Yeah.
2010? 2008?
Probably 2005-ish.
Okay, so I bought my 2010. That's less than 8 years ago. And because I was traveling significantly and I needed a phone, and I was teaching and traveling, so a lot of these messages, and I carried my laptop everywhere. I said I don't need a smartphone because I have my laptop everywhere. But sometimes it's not easy to turn on the machine and find a Wi-Fi connection and also the hotspots and so on and so forth. So, and trust me, I was still a full man before 2010. I was still a human being. I still functioned. You say, well, that's not possible. You were a different species. But trust me, your parents were human beings, and they functioned, probably smarter than us. Many of the civilizations, they just found Guatemala. They just do the LiDAR laser detection. They found 10 million people lived in that one city alone. They found 60,000 structures. Just today they announced. So people were pretty smart thousands of years, hundreds of years ago. The only thing, they didn't have the tools. We just developed some tools. So we are not in any shape or form better than some of the other civilizations. We are just living in a different era. So what I'm trying to say here is that, guys, we have to be real when it comes to learning and reading and using the technology, especially when it comes to if I can take away your smartphone, I actually volunteer in some high schools and middle schools sometimes, talk about take my robot and show. And in fact, they have a hanging pocket thing, and the guys come in, they put their phone in the pocket. And it's all volunteer based. And some of my lectures, and remember, I actually take my time away from making money and go to these individuals, Santana High School or some other places, and the whole time their head is on their phone, whatever they're doing. And again, it's a high school, they're minors, but if I had an opportunity, I should not record this, but I would I would really, because their parents are afraid of them, their teachers are afraid of them, their friends are afraid of them. Have you seen American Idol? The horrible singers and all those people, and you think that how come these people nobody told them, because they say, we don't want to break your heart, yes, follow your dream, but you're so horrible. You should not be following that dream. Do something else. Be a carpenter or plumber or something. You should not be into singing or dancing. What I'm saying is that we should be real with each other. If I don't like Louis' style of writing code, I should tell Louis, you know what? You're pretty pathetic. You need to develop some skill set. And of course, we cannot use those keywords. We can use slightly nicer words, but we need to be real with each other, with our siblings, with our friends, especially with our friends. We spend so much time with our friends. So please, avoid those things and you'll be fine. All right. So that's our course syllabus, and I'm not going to show you the textbook. You can download the textbook. Some of the I'll be uploading our video, I think somewhere here, so you'll see our recorded material. Please don't think about suing me. Don't take this one and say he said this and I'm offended. I actually had a professor friend. He told me a story. There are a lot of stories that he had an African-American girl in the class, and her keyboard was stuck. You know, some of the older keyboards, the keys get stuck. And this poor guy, there were other chairs. He said, oh, let me help you. And he hit the key K 3 times accidentally. She went to the dean's office. He's harassing me. So if I put my video here and if you see something which doesn't align, look at the context, what context I'm presenting. So please understand. So I'm not here to harm you and harass you. I'm just here to provide you some real sense of the real industry, what's happening. And it might work for some people, might not work for some people. That's why I asked some people, guys, take off, give some spots. And it might work for some people. But I'm going to upload it here, so you'll see it right there, hopefully by tomorrow. And then next week's presentation will be there as well. So you'll have the content. If you missed something, you didn't understand, you were tired, you'll have the videos available throughout. Now sometimes I get a complaint, especially when I'm writing and going back and forth, that they couldn't catch it. So all the programs we are going to type, I will upload those programs, like under demo files, like this one here. So if I'm typing some code, you'll have the demo file available to you. So you'll have the code, which you can actually look at it. So even if you miss something, it will be available. If I show you other resources, those resources will be available to you as well. Okay? You guys okay with that? So that's our Canvas site. There'll be a lot of material. My Moodle site had a lot of material, but I don't want to spend too much time, take all the systems and put them here. I'm going to take whatever I need, and I'll gradually add more content to our on weekly basis. Okay? Now, question is, can I start project 1 if I'm comfortable? Absolutely. If you feel that you want to make the first submission, you can submit up to multiple times before the deadline. But after the deadline, then I'll start grading them. But if you feel that you want to submit, feel free to submit if you feel that you're comfortable with Visual Studio and you can work on it. Workload. I briefly talked about it. Let me highlight this here. So what do we call a full-time student? How many units you have to take, or how many credits per semester to become a full-time student? 12 credits, right? So 12 units or 12 credits. How many for a full-time employee to work in a week? 40 hours a week. Do you think there's a relationship between these two? That accreditation agencies, they call a 12-unit student a full-time student. Do you think there's a relationship between these two?
Yeah.
There might be. Let's actually figure it out. So if, for example, if we say each class is worth 3 units, again, we can argue some of them might be less or more. So let's say they're worth 3 units. So altogether, you have 4 classes per semester. So if you have 4 classes on average, you're considered as a full-time student. You guys are with me? So if I have 4 classes, the accreditation agencies and universities and colleges, they consider you as a full-time student because their anticipation is that you'll be working 10 hours a week for each class in order to have 40 hours a week. So that's why you are a full-time student. So in other words, you owe me 10 hours a week. So if you're taking one of my classes, another English class, maybe another humanities class, so you need to spend 10 hours a week. You say, well, I work 60 hours, and I told you I have 2 girlfriends. I should not say that. I told you I'm busy, and I have a lot of other responsibilities, such as watching basketball or other things. So I don't have 10 hours. I don't have 10 hours. Yes, you can pass this class by spending 2 hours, 1 hour, 3 hours. Because the system has flaws, it has a lot of gaps. Some of you have habitually found those gaps. That's what you look for. And you'll be able to find flaws in this class and system and flaws in the system. You'll be able to pass this class. Maybe some of you might get an A or B. But like I said, the system will catch up with you. And by the time you're late 40s and 50s, you'll be laid off. You'll be in Santana riverbed. You'll have no wife or husband, and on and on and on. I'm exaggerating here, but what I'm saying is that if you want real learning, this is how much they anticipate that you spend on each class. Now, how do you do that? Well, let's say 2 hours of reading. That's 2 hours of reading. 3 hours in the classroom. That's 5 hours. Then there'll be a lot of interaction between you guys. Could be virtual, could be face-to-face. There's a lot of coding you have to practice. Some of the weeks, like first and second week, will be easier. Gradually, it's going to build on it. But if your first or second weeks are weak, you will be left behind. By fourth, fifth week, most of the people drop by fifth week. And suddenly you will see all the chairs are empty. So, and it all starts on the first week. If you take it seriously, some of you already know, I can see your faces, you are serious about it. Some of you say, I'm not going to change. I never changed, and I'm too strong, and I know what I'm doing. Good for you. Good for you. So I'm available. I'm still provide you the same service. College pays me to provide the service, but ultimately you will not be able to get what you want. So Louis told me, not Louis, but you told me, you want to make certain amount, but certain time. It's possible. You can do that by spending that time. And you can cut your hours in so many different places. Well, we have an app. You can download an app, and when you are between something, you can use that app. An app is called Learn C++. You can find on Android as well as iPhone. It's a very quick installation. And it looks like a circle.
The solo queue or
yeah. So
solo
let me show you if I can show you here. Yeah, this one. This is what it looks like. This one here. So Learn C++, I found this app very easy to use. You can write code, immediately run and compile code. It's a really easy download and installation. Also for the people who are looking at online, you can download this app. And there are a variety of other resources I'll be highlighting, but this app will be available on both Android as well as your iPhone. Okay, so that's the time we are looking for. All right. All right, let's actually look at our first program. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time tonight, but I'm going to just show you, and we'll type this code together on our machine. If you don't have a machine, you can work with your neighbors. But this main function, how many of you have taken Java? In Java, what is the starting point of the compiler? Where the compiler starts? Compiler looks for what? Main method, right? Same thing in C#, same thing in C language. So these 4 languages, their starting point for the compiler, and some of you probably don't understand what the compiler is. Compiler is a program which converts your C++ program into what? Into machine code. So computers only understand machine codes. Machine codes are in ones and zeros. Computers, okay, here's a quiz question. Computers understand English language. True or false? Computers do not understand English or any other human languages. Computers only understand ones and zeros. 1 means on, 0 means off. Computer only understand that. So compiler is a program which converts your C++ program written like a human language into machine language. So in C++, the starting function, and we don't know what the function is at this stage, but the starting point is when you run the program, it looks for the main function. It says, I'm looking for main function, and it looks for the main function. Once it finds the main function, it's satisfied. Okay, so that's the main function. So here, by the way, if I ask you, let's say you have 0 programming background, so like many of you. If I ask you, what is the answer? What would you say? How did you know? So sqrt, in this case, stands for square root, and that's a function. How do I know it's a function? Look at these parentheses. Whenever you see parentheses in computer science, in finance, in accounting, in math, anywhere in the world, in any subject matter, it's a function. Function is a collection of statements, collection of instructions, written by you or written by another developer. So this is a function. Somebody wrote a square root function to produce a result. And this value is called, anybody knows? What do we call something inside the parentheses? An argument. So you're sending an argument or parameter. So then the function grabs that argument and processes it and produces the result. So similarly, I can tell this is a function. This is a function. By the way, if I put semicolon at the end, this will run as a C++ program. So I can tell this is a function because it has parentheses open and close. Now, body of the function in these 4 languages reside inside the curly braces. So this is where the body begins. This is where the body ends. So all the instructions or code will go inside the main function. In the first 4 or 5 chapters, we'll be just using one function. Gradually, we'll start building more and more and more functions. So inside the function, here I'm saying, in Java, how do you display something? System out, print line. In C language, how do you print something? Printf. In some of the other languages, it might be display, it might be print, and so on and so forth. Here, it says C out. Anybody knows what C out stands for? C stands for what? Console out. Console is your screen. Console out. It's sending it to the console. So console out, whatever is in double quotes, it's going to display on the console. You guys are with me? Console out. Now, in order to understand this statement, this resides in a library. So we have a bunch of libraries in C++, just like in Java and other languages. So we borrow these statements from other libraries. So there is one library I'm using, IOStream. I stand for Input Output Stream. Input Output Stream. It's a library. I'm saying include this library. We'll be spending more time discussing these libraries later. And there's something called namespace. It's like a collection of statements as well. So I'm saying using namespace std. It's a standard library. Standard namespace. So we are using this library and this namespace so we can write some code inside the main function. All right, so with that understanding, let's see if we can write our first program together. So what I want you to do is, I would like you to type Visual Studio if it's not already open. I'm going to just make it slightly larger so you can see in the back. And go to File, New, Project. And you have all these instructions on our Canvas site as well. File, New, Project. And we'll be doing this probably in 5 seconds or less in the future. And I'm going to go a little slow tonight. And you select the right language. By default, it might be a different language. It might be C# or something else. Make sure you are in C++. Now, many of you when you were not here, we installed an update. And if the updates doesn't stay, then I'm going to ask the IT department to keep that update into the software. It was missing, but we updated our system. So you should be able to see Win32 console application. Do you see that one? Do you see Win32 console application? So before you click anything else, I want you to select your location. Right now, it's taking you to the projects folder. Now, if you have a USB, for example, if you have some other device, you can store it there, save it there. Right now, let's just keep the way it is. Or, yeah, that's fine. Let's keep it the way it is. But next week, I'll show you how to put it on your desktop or your USB so we can select the location. And also, the default name of the project is Console Application 1. I'm going to leave the way it is. Doesn't make any difference. We can change it to our last name or Project 1, whatever we want to call it. So I didn't change anything at all. I just selected Win32 Console Application, and I hit OK. And then on this Windows, if it pops up, you select Application Settings, and check Empty Project. Application Settings and check Empty Project. Right here, I check this box, Empty Project. Now, if you install Visual Studio 2017, you don't have to go through this step. This step is already embedded. So you'll not see that screen in 2017 edition. This one is 2015 edition here. But some of you might have 2017 when you go home, so you will not see this screen at that time. Hit Finish. What it does, it creates like an empty project. Project is basically a folder. It created a folder for you because we can have different types of files in that folder. All of you can see this. If you don't see it, Melissa, I'm going to click View, Solution Explorer. And looks like you don't have, it says 0 projects. Mm-hmm. So go back and click File, New Project again. How many of you do not have this window here? Okay, so it means your project was not created successfully. So you want to go back, File, New Project. Make sure you're in C++, Console Application. Hit OK. When you hit OK, it takes you to another screen which says Application Settings. Click on Empty Project. Click on Application Settings. Can somebody help him? Guys, can somebody help him? Help each other, guys. It saves us time, so we can cover more. Application Settings and Empty Project. Go to the projects. I think it's not letting you save on the desktop. It might have. Go ahead and close
this.
Go ahead and close this one completely. Close it. Yeah, it's trying to look for me. And minimize it. There might be an issue with this one. There might be an issue. So I'm going to move forward, guys. I'm going to move forward, and I'll show you this over and over again, hopefully by next week. But these instructions are also available. Sometimes the lab computers, they are protected. They are restricted. So if you have a USB, for example, if you save your project on your USB, there should not be any issues. Sometimes it says you cannot save a project on the desktop or certain places. Did anybody, other than a couple of other individuals, you have the screen, right? So most of the computers are okay. So there might be one or two issues. And I'll work with those individuals later. All right, so under source files, I want you to right-click, add new item. So right-click under source files, add new item. Source files, add new item. Do you see C++? You probably have only two choices, C++, .cpp file or .h file. You want to select .cpp. The default name is source.cpp. That's okay. We'll leave the way it is. We are not going to change the name tonight. But next week, we'll change the name. And hit add. Hit add. When you add, then you are ready to write your code. How many of you have this text editor available? Raise your hand. How many of you do not have the text editor available to write the code? Okay, so a couple of you. So either your neighbors can help you, or you can look at your neighbor's screens. All right, let's start writing some code. You can follow along. Type include, #, include IOStream. Using namespace, std, semicolon, int main, all right, so I added 2-3 lines of code. I have # include, less than symbol, IOStream, greater symbol, using namespace std, semicolon, int main, cout for console out, less than symbol, double quotes, and any other message you like to put it inside the double quotes. You can put your own name if you like. If you have low self-esteem, type I'm beautiful. I'm just kidding, guys. I know it's recording, but I'm just kidding. And put semicolon at the end. Put system pause, semicolon. This is a fully functional program, and each line has a purpose. Each character has a purpose. How do you end your sentences in English language? Period. How do you end your sentences in C++, Java, C#? So all these C family languages, you end your statements or sentences with semicolon. That's why you see semicolons there. The developers of the language, that's how they developed it, and we have to follow those rules. Not all the languages have the same rule. All right. Now we are ready to run. You can run your program in multiple ways. The simplest way you can run is you can use the control key and F5. Control F5. Let's try it. Control key and F5. It might ask you, are you sure you want to run? Always say yes. And I'm going to make this one slightly larger for your viewing. And I see something here. I see a message, hello world. And because of my system pause, I see press any key to continue. Yeah. You say yes. Hit yes. And it should produce some results. There you go. And now you're ready to make your first $100,000. And in fact, this is a tradition in programming languages that the first code is always hello world. Hello world from C++, hello world from LBCC. whatever, but this is how the tradition is. So you have successfully written your first ever program. If you're familiar with a movement, code.org, and let me see if I can find the original video. Now this hello world, and you might recognize some of these individuals.
I was 13 when I first got access to a computer.
My parents bought me a Macintosh in 1984 when I was 8 years old. I was in 6th grade.
I learned to code in college. Freshman year, first semester, intro to computer science.
I wrote a program to play tic-tac-toe.
I think it was pretty humble beginnings. I think the first program I wrote asked things like, what's your favorite color? Or how old are you?
I first learned how to make a green circle and a red square appear on the screen.
The first time I actually had something come up and say, hello world, I made a computer do that. It was just astonishing.
Learning how to program didn't start off as wanting to learn all of computer science or trying to master this discipline or anything like that. It just started off because I wanted to do this one simple thing. I wanted to make something that was fun for myself and my sisters. And I wrote this little program and then basically just add a little bit to it. And then when I needed to learn something new, I looked it up either in a book or on the internet and then added a little bit to it.
It's really not unlike kind of playing an instrument or something, or playing a sport. It starts out being very intimidating, but you kind of get the hang of it over time.
Coding is something that can be learned, and I know it can be intimidating. A lot of things are intimidating, but what isn't?
A lot of the coding that people do is actually fairly simple. It's more about the process of breaking down problems than sort of coming up with complicated algorithms as people traditionally think about it.
You don't have to be a genius to know how to code. You need to be determined.
Addition, subtraction, that's about it.
You should probably know your multiplication tables.
You don't have to be a genius to code. Do you have to be a genius to read?
Even if you want to become a race car driver or play baseball, or build a house, and all of these things have been turned upside down by software.
What it is computers are everywhere. You want to work in agriculture? Do you want to work in entertainment? Do you want to work in manufacturing? It's just all over.
Here we are, 2013. We all depend on technology to communicate, to bank, information, and none of us know how to read and write code.
When I was in school, I was in this after-school group called the Whiz Kids, and when people found out, they laughed at me and all these things, and I'm like, man, I don't care. I think it's cool, and I'm learning a lot, and some of my friends have jobs.
Our policy is literally to hire as many talented engineers as we can find. The whole limit in the system is just that there just aren't enough people who are trained and have these skills today.
To get the very best people, we try to make the office as awesome as possible.
Whether you're trying to make a lot of money or whether you just want to change the world, computer programming is an incredibly empowering skill to learn.
I think if someone had told me that software is really about humanity, that it's really about helping people by using computer technology, it would have changed my outlook a lot earlier.
To be able to actually come up with an idea and then see it in your hands and then be able to press a button and have it be in millions of people's hands, I think we're the first generation in the world that's really ever had that kind of experience.
Just to think that, I mean, you can start something in your college dorm room, and you can have a set of people who haven't built a big company before come together and build something that 1 billion people use as part of their daily lives is just crazy to think about, right? It's humbling and it's amazing.
The programmers of tomorrow are the wizards of the future. You know, you're going to look like you have magic powers compared to everybody else.
It's amazing. I think it's...
You get an idea. By the way, I'm standing here not because I look pretty good, but I just wanted to capture that one because the camera follows me, because I'm wearing something and it just follows me along. Anyway, so you get some idea that you actually have written the first piece of code for some of you. Some of you have already written some code, but this is how I started. Every single language I started exactly in a similar fashion. And where do you take it? It's up to you. You take it bare minimum just to get your grade or 20 points for each assignment. You'll get your 20 points. You want to go and expand, and you want to go and explore, and you want to be more creative. Those are the individuals who will have the higher market value. Those will not be under the layoff flag when there's a recession. So there's a huge difference. There'll be individuals in this class, they will say, I just want to do bare minimum. Those are the requirements. That's exactly what I'm going to do. And there'll be individuals that say, you know what, this is a life-changing thing. I can tell you that when I saw the computers first time, I knew it. This is love of my life. You can find plenty of wives, but you cannot find this kind of strong love for technology in a development sense, not in an addiction sense, in a sense that you can see you can make millions of dollars. And I already have made a lot of money in a good way, in a positive way, and I still have potential, and I invite you to do the same. So when the requirements are not that significant the first couple of projects. So I'm going to just show you. If you click on project 1, the project 1 says, and you'll see the project 1 will have an expected output which looks like this. So you get 40 hours from a user. You get number of rate per hour from user. 40 times 20 is $800 per week. That's it. You say, oh, that's easy. I'm going to just use some cout commands, throw out all those results, and I'll get $800 per week, and I'll get 20 points. Sure. But there'll be some individuals, at least 5 to 7 of you in this class, they'll say, I'm going to go beyond that. I'm going to explore. I'm going to add more value. So those are the individuals who will have. I had a student 3-4 years ago. I offered him internship. He said no. I offered him part-time job. He said no. I offered him full-time job. He said no. Then one time he came to my office. He took 5 of my classes. All the classes I was teaching, he took all of them in different semesters. He said he's leaving for Stanford. And I was very happy. I knew that he had the potential. He said, well, he got full scholarship at Stanford. And I knew he could have done it. He said, plus Long Beach City College is paying $25,000 as scholarship too. So there are people in this campus from these buildings, from these rooms. They go to UCLA, Berkeley, Stanford every single semester. So people like that. So they know where they're heading. And his work, I can still show you some of the examples. Outstanding work. He didn't have to just produce simple things. He went beyond that one. So those are the individuals, when they see a potential in something, then they go further. And that's the limit. Right, so when we come back, we'll talk about Chapter 1. We'll spend a lot of time discussing some of the requirements for Project 1 as well. I'll show you how to upload it. If you want to see what's in Demo 1 file. In fact, I recommend when you go home and if you have a software, so you can copy this code. Simply copy, highlight, copy it, Control-C, go to your Visual Studio. You can highlight and paste it. Once you paste it, this is what the code looks like. Here's the code. And run it, Control F5. And it shows me an error. The reason the error is I have something in the background open. I'm going to close it first, run it again. And I just copied and pasted. Notice that it is from 2013. I'm still using the same demo file. But we are going to write a demo file together next week as well. and I'll upload that demo file and I'll have available to you. So it's asking for sale price. You enter some sale price, and it's going to produce some results. So go ahead and try it. And then when you're reading the second chapter, some of you, because you'll notice that there's no code in the first chapter, there are some exercises in the second chapter. Maybe you can copy and paste. And I can also provide you all the exercises. I can upload in a zip file, so you'll have access to all the files, all the exercises from each respective chapter. I'll do that when I go home, hopefully by tomorrow. Okay? Any questions you have for me? Any questions before we take off? Yeah.
For next week, we have to read chapter 1.
So chapter 1, and I want you to play with this exercise, the demo one. See if you have the software at home. If you don't, if you have time on campus, you can use our Open Lab, which is M109. If you have the software installed on your machine, then run that demo file and see how you can modify it, play with it. You can change it. Try to understand it. If you do not do that at all, no worries. When you come back, we'll be going through each step together on next Monday as well. Okay? Any questions from this side? How about in the back? Yeah, but I'll show you how to save it, because if you save it, it's not going to save the entire project. It's going to just save just the CPP file, and you will not be able to run CPP file by yourself. But if you just want to save CPP file, yes, you can say File, Save As, because if you go right here, File, Save As, save selected items. And it's going to ask you, where do you want, not the selected items. So file, okay, there it is. Yeah, I didn't click this one. So you just make sure click inside the text editor. Then you'll find File, Save As, source.cpp. So you can save that CPP file on your USB if you like. But it doesn't save the entire project. And we'll discuss how to save the entire project next week when we come back. So, but right now you just have the basic understanding, our layout of our class, how the class is structured, how we are going to move forward, and that's it. Thank you very much.